So for today's webinar, it's with CRM Dynamics, of course. We're located in Mississauga, Ontario. We're one of Microsoft's Gold certified partners, and we specialize in Microsoft Dynamics 365. I'm Angelina Jacobs. I've done webinars in the past, but today I'm actually going to be passing it over to Ronnie. He's one of the managers here at CRM Dynamics, and he manages the consultant team. So Ronnie, when you're good, take it away.
Thank you, Angelina. Just to confirm, can you all hear me? Angelina, can you hear me?
Yep, audio looks good, and everyone said they can hear you. Perfect.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ronnie. Like Angelina said, I manage the consulting team here at CRM Dynamics. The purpose of today's session is primarily to take you through what are some of the new enhancements and capabilities that are coming in the Dynamics 365 release over the next few months, right? So what we want to talk about today in our agenda is what are some of the new features in Dynamics 365, particularly in the fall release, and then what are some of the enhancements in the existing capabilities. Now, you may be aware that Microsoft does 2 releases a year for Dynamics 365. So the next one coming up is the fall release. There's a lot of new features that I want to talk about today, kind of show you. Some of them are in preview mode, but by the fall, it would be generally available for all customers and prospects who actually want to give it a try. Right. So the biggest step that Microsoft has taken in the Dynamics 365 portfolio is the integration with Teams. Now, you may recall in the previous releases, we've had Office 365 integration. We've been talking about it for over 5 years now. Then they moved into Office 365 and then Office Groups. Now, with Teams being the latest collaboration tool that Microsoft is pushing forward, it's natural that a Teams integration is required for Dynamics 365. The first screen, the screen that you see on the screen is primarily to introduce you to what we call as a sales bot. A bot is nothing but an application that runs some automated tasks based on some intelligence or some command that you provide, and it will go in and run those scripts and get that work done for you. So there's 2 things. We've got bots built into bots is a Azure capability that's built into Teams. Now we are going to leverage those capabilities in Dynamics 365. So let's say, what are some of the possibilities, right? For example, if you have an open opportunity, you want to look up an opportunity from Teams, you're able to do that just by typing in the commands that are required. Or you want to look up some contacts, or you want to run some queries like what are some of the opportunities that are closing soon. If you want to search for a contact or a customer and update the phone number, everything is possible now just within commands that you issue in Teams. You don't necessarily have to go into the Dynamics 365 application and do that. If Teams is your everyday collaboration tool, this allows you to do all of those updates from within Teams itself. Moving to the next slide. Remember, Teams was always introduced as a collaboration tool. Now, not every member in your organization may be a CRM user. Let's take an example here. Say you have a salesperson going in after an opportunity, and he was sitting in front of his computer and thinking, who in my organization might actually know some of the prospects that I'm going after in this opportunity? Or does anybody in my organization know any of the stakeholders in this customer organization? Not necessarily all of them are CRM users, but if with this new capability, the system can now go in and look at these contact profiles in LinkedIn and say, these are the members in your organization who have actually connected to this customer organization. These are the connections, and it's intelligently able to pull in those employees and show you these are the different ways that you have connections within the customer organization. And let's say, and that's the screenshot that you see here. You can see a graphical representation of you as a salesperson connected to these 3 different employees on a particular organization. And in this example, it's used Contoso. So 3 people in your organization already know Contoso through some connections. So the more you know better, the closer it is for you to go in and close that sale. So once we know who those people are, we can now initiate some activities, like you could send them an email, or you can give them a call, and you could actually chat with them through the Teams interface. And all that's done within Teams. You really don't need to actually go in and open Dynamics for that, right? So going into the next screen is, now let's run some queries. Let's say if you go in and type a query in Teams that says, show me my active opportunities. It goes into the Dynamics 365 instance and pulls out the top 3 opportunities that you have. So if you look at the screen, it says the first screen talks about 3 opportunities that are active for this particular Teams user, who's also a CRM user though. And then if you click on one of them, you can say, I want to make some changes. I want to put in some messages or some activities into the Teams that I need to store within Dynamics, right? So you can do that again from the Teams interface itself. Going forward, remember Teams was always a collaboration tool, right? So now members in your organization, both internally or external teams, you could actually have conversations and share content or share documents from within Teams. And all of those interactions need to be stored within Dynamics. So you can actually discuss a whole opportunity or an account or a contact within Teams and take the transcript of those conversations and link it with the necessary entity in Dynamics. So all of those conversations might go against an opportunity if there's been any documents that are stored. And if you follow this opportunity in Teams, anytime somebody else makes a change into that same opportunity, you would be able to view that as a record in CRM, right? Going forward. Now the next thing is, let's open up Dynamics 365, and this is the new interface of Dynamics. And you want to start a Teams conversation from within the Dynamics screen itself. So if you look at the yellow dot that's been highlighted there, there's a new menu item that says Start Conversation. So on sitting in an opportunity screen, which in this case is mountain bikes, you can go in and start a conversation from the screen, and it actually pops up Teams menu on the side, where you can see in this screen it says, these are the Teams channels that you're already associated with. Do you want to use an existing Teams channel, or do you want to go in and create a new one? So now this is Teams embedded within Dynamics, right? So you can select the Teams channel that you want and have those conversations, or create a new one for this purpose. Now, everything that happens on that channel is linked to this mountain bikes opportunity. So the transcript there and all of the conversations will be stored in as activities within the opportunity itself. Going forward, remember the backbone of Teams is a lot of the content and the documents that are being shared over Teams is having SharePoint as the background. Now, traditionally, Dynamics 365 always had an integration with SharePoint. With Teams still using the same, you can now, you would be able to show all of the documents in a grid that are sitting in SharePoint, which is linked through Teams on a particular opportunity. So open up an opportunity, and if you go into the document grid, it pulls in all the documents that are associated through Teams on this document. And also, if the location of all the documents are in SharePoint, it's also going to show those documents in the screen itself. So there might be a particular quote that you've exchanged with an internal employee who needed to send it to somebody that they know. That's a very private conversation, but if that's been shared over Teams and it's been linked to a Dynamics opportunity, it would be stored here in this grid. Right. going forward. Now, let's say during the course of a salesperson's day, you continually have these collaboration capabilities where you go in and have those conversations, and you find some conversation that's very insightful and might be useful as some intelligent information for a particular sales deal. Now, at this point, it's not linked with anything. It's just a casual or a general conversation that's happening on Teams. But this is something that you think that needs to be linked to a particular record in CRM, probably an opportunity. Let's say the example here that's been given is that Contoso has acquired Northwind. So maybe you are working on an opportunity, and this intelligence, maybe you saw this on an online news channel that this is what's happened. And you shared this with somebody else in a private conversation, but that's useful for somebody in your team who's working on that opportunity. So now Teams gives you the capability to store a conversation that's not linked to a particular record within Dynamics. So you can say here that that text is going to be stored in with the menu that says Save to Dynamics. This is very much similar to, if you recall, the Office 365 integration, the Outlook integration had, you could have an email that's not tracked, and you could do set regarding, you could go in and pull out a list of leads, contacts, or opportunity and link that email to that particular record. And that's the same capability that you see here, linking a conversation with a Dynamics 365 record. Going forward, in the release after that is now, you can now have a minimized version of the Teams chat window pop up within Dynamics. Now you could actually, rather than going into Teams and having those conversations, you could actually have a conversation tab in Dynamics itself. So while you're working on this opportunity, you could collaborate with the team members, or probably if you're on a project you're working, or you're probably talking to your sales manager. Those conversations again come up as a conversation tab within Dynamics. All those conversations would also be stored as activities within the Dynamics 365 opportunity record. So the power is immense. Like Microsoft has invested a lot of resources both in building Dynamics capabilities in Teams and building Teams capabilities within Dynamics. So it's coming to what we call as a seamless integration. It should be going forward. This is going to be the natural way in which conversations are going to happen and collaboration is going to happen within an organization. And we don't want to lose track of all those conversations, and those would be embedded against any CRM record. Now, is it only possible on a computer, or no? So we have all of these capabilities on a mobile device as well. So all of those capabilities that we talked now, Teams is available as an app on a device. So all of those capabilities would be available on mobile devices. Imagine the power that a traveling salesperson has to do all of this collaboration and share information from Teams, from a mobile device, and also from CRM on a mobile device. So to see more about the complete story of what that Microsoft Teams integration looks like, this is the link that Angelina, we are going to share this deck, aren't we?
Yep. So the recording will be available afterwards, as well as the deck sent out to attendees.
Perfect. Okay. So this is the link. I encourage all of you to go in and have a look. There's a lot of information. What we are sharing now is what we call as a concise or a reduced information repository that we want to share, but the extensive information is all available on this website. I encourage all of you to go through this link. So that's just the Teams piece. So what does that timeline really look like? So today, Microsoft has released in a private preview the ability to pin Dynamics into a Teams channel. So within Teams, we would be able to see a CRM record, And today in a private preview, we can go in and type those commands and do a search and an update on using the sales bot. So we can type in those commands, do those bot will take care of those commands, run the scripts, and make the necessary updates in Dynamics 365, both from a desktop version as well as from a mobile version. That's available in private preview. In the fall release, which is the next one, we're going to have the ability to open teams from Dynamics. So that's where from the Dynamics screen we can start a new conversation or join an existing Teams channel. That's available coming up in the next release. And also the document grid, where the documents would be shared. Documents would be shared as a document grid on the Dynamics record. Spring 2019 is the release, the N+1 release, that we can create teams from Dynamics. So that's the new Teams channel, okay? And then we will have the embedded conversation tab on that Teams channel available on the CRM screen. So that's also possible there. So that's coming in this. So this is just what's available as of today. I'm sure as we reach closer to the date of the fall release and the spring release, we will have a few more capabilities added. Hopefully in the next webinar, whenever we do that, we can talk about some of those capabilities are. Right, so that was all about the Teams integration. Now, you might have seen the amount of time and resources that Microsoft has spent on the artificial intelligence piece. Now, AI primarily is an Azure capabilities. With Dynamics 365 completely having built on the Azure platform, Dynamics 365 can now leverage the AI capabilities that are available on Azure. So if you do your research on AI, there's a lot of machine learning, there's a lot of scripting, there's a lot of natural language processing, embedded intelligence, BI. So how do we leverage all of that in Dynamics? And the R&D, the Microsoft R&D team has spent a lot of effort into building these AI capabilities into D365. And the purpose here now is I want to take you to some of those capabilities, primarily around the sales and the customer service side of the business. So a lot of dashboards, a lot of insights. So we'll go through some of them right now. So if you recall, in the last two releases, they had the first phase of the intelligence piece or AI piece was the relationship analytics. What that used to do was to give you these action cards that used to tell you that you're lagging behind on your sales calls. This opportunity has been stale for more than this. So it used to go in and run queries inside the CRM database to pull out insights. We call them actionable insights. So let's say if you get a notification on a card that says you've not contacted this opportunity in the past 15 days, where typically you should have, and the relationship health is going down. This prompts you with this information, right? And this is not something that happens overnight. The system learns as it understands our behavior on how we do our communication. How often do we reach out to our successful customers, reach out to our successful opportunities? What is your rate of closure? Keeping all these parameters in mind, it generates. And what I've seen from my experience is it takes like at least 3 months for that system to completely understand the user, and it starts giving you those actionable insights. Right. For example, if you look at the screen here, it says, gives you some analytics. You've spent this much amount of time. You've engaged through emails, phone calls for this much amount of time. Now, if your organization has these KPIs, that from historical data, you have information that if you spend at least 48 hours in a month with a particular customer, the rate of closing an opportunity is very high. Just an example. If that's something that the intelligence engine or the AI piece understands, it's trying to mold its behavior around what that KPI is. It gives you those insights. It looks at interaction history. So it looks at a year's data and says that people who haven't really interacted with their leads or who've not had a turnaround time of maybe 24 hours, if that hasn't been met, the possibility of closing this this opportunity is very low. With that parameter in place, now the AI piece starts looking at your existing transactions and gives you these insights. So as a sales manager, if you have these benchmark values on some of the tasks that a salesperson needs to do, you can actually measure performance against those benchmark values. And that's what the AI is. Again, AI is still in its infancy, so there will be a lot more capabilities over the years that Dynamics is going to build on. So this is the primary thing, is based on interactions. This is where we need to benchmark you as a salesperson. Again, you have the parameters of closure rate, year-on-year growth rate. It marks it against the pipeline that's coming in, the number of leads that's been coming in from various channels. All these parameters put in together, AI is going to look at all of these and give you those benchmark values. All right. Going forward, and as a manager, what does your dashboard look like? So, gone are the days now. Gone are the days where we're going to run those reports and generate Excel files and do some calculations. We spoke a lot about Power BI over the past few years. That's the insights that you get from those dashboards are very powerful. But if we build in the AI piece as well into these dashboards, this is what it's going to look like. It gives you graphical representations, which is a sales manager can look in and say, I've got 11 days left and my quota is this much, 400K, and I've got 313K. I need to do something. And if you look at my pipeline in a bubble graph, that says that it even gives you the insights. It says 3 deals which are worth a sum of all these deals, 180K, are closing soon, but they have a poor relationship score. The relationship score is what I told you about how the benchmark values are measured against a salesperson. So over time, the system becomes more efficient, and that's how machine learning or AI really works. And then some notifications in the bottom that gives you the good news. Say Ryan's won a deal, and this is what the value is, and or there's a new opportunity that's come up. It shows all of this on a single pane of glass, right? And all of these are completely configurable and customizable. We can, change the layout, or we can put in more insights. But this is what a sales manager dashboard would look like with the AI capabilities. Going forward, again, they've got something called as goals and forecasting. Now, forecasting, accurate forecasting is always, I mean, I'm a true believer that accurate forecasting is very, very hard. So it's what with the AI, we have just added that edge in that intelligence, that can we really forecast not just based on instinct or how the relationship's going. Can we do that using some more parameters? And those parameters can also be built in the AI to do that intelligent forecasting. Based on that, we would be able to assign goals to these salespeople, so that step by step, if we achieve those goals, it's that a road to success where our forecasting will actually map with our actual revenue numbers. And so that's the intent with the goal and forecasting with the AI. If you recall, Relationship Insights had a preview feature called Relationship Health. This is a typical view of my open, which is nothing but a query. It's just a list that shows that these are my open opportunities, but there is a new column added called the Relationship Health. And you can see it's been colored with different, so the greens and the reds and the yellows. So and that's a bubble graph representation of this. So the ones, and if you look at the axis on it's the relationship health and the days until the opportunity is coming to a close. So the more bigger the circle, it's the bigger the opportunity value, okay? And the closer it is to the y-axis to the top, to the left, is where you think that has a high potential to close. So you can see the colors out there, which shows, and it actually states the relationship is poor, fair, good. And if you actually click on that bubble graph or on that record, it tells you why the opportunity has been considered in that way. And that again goes back to that combination of parameters, that we might have sent them 200 emails, but only 15 of them were opened, or they have not responded, there have been delays in responses. So it measures all of that interaction history as well, and that's where it says. And if there is it's a progressive path that it's taking, that it's actually going steady, or if things are going on a downturn, it actually shows with arrows that it's actually declining or it's improving. And that's the trend that's against an opportunity. So these are the kind of insights. Now, sometimes, traditionally, when we pulled up a list like this, it was just what the value was. You could select some fields from Dynamics or from the opportunity record to actually show in this list. But the relationship health and the trend is something that the system is actually providing you in a list that gives you more insights. Right? Going forward, now that was the sales piece. Now, what if you run a telesales center or a contact center? So these are some of what would look like, what your dashboards would look like. And again, this is under the assumption that we are measuring these values like sentiment, content, conversation style. This is again the AI piece where it says, this is what overall the sentiment of that customer was. Now, one of the ways you could measure the customer sentiment was maybe through a survey, or it could be any information that came in through an email saying that I had a great experience, because AI also has the capability to do natural language processing, which means it can read the text of an email and it can say whether it's a positive or a negative sentiment. And if that email is linked against a particular sales opportunity, it will flag that as a positive sentiment. So that's the NLP, or the natural language processing capability of Dynamics. And then it shows the graphical of how the sentiment has changed over time. And that's the second graph that you see on your left. Going ahead, you can see in terms of if you use marketing automation and the leads were generated using the marketing, and how many of those campaigns had nurture campaigns going forward, how many of them actually opened up the email campaigns, how many of them clicked on the links, were there any documents shared. All of this it measures, and then it takes that data and says, this is what we think the score, or what do we say as the intelligence on how we need to proceed against this particular lead from the marketing channel. So it's very, very powerful, but it has to be worked on for at least 2-3 months so that it understands, because no organization does sales or marketing, and I'm sure all of you agree with that. The system needs to learn the way we measure and execute your sales operations and going forward, and how your salespeople actually work, right? To know more about the Dynamics AI for Sales, that's the link. Again, I encourage you to go through this. There's a lot of insights in there. Right. So 2 years ago, $26.2 billion was what Microsoft spent to acquire LinkedIn. But what was it initially? What did it mean for Dynamics? Initially, we said that you could actually see the LinkedIn profile of a contact. If you have a customer record or a contact record in your CRM system, you could have an integration with LinkedIn where it would pull in the LinkedIn profile and show you who that contact is. It shows you who they're connected with in your organization. It shows who you could possibly reach out to connect and get more information. All of those insights were available. Now with the new piece is that you can now embed LinkedIn within a business process flow. So let's say you have a business flow for your sales, develop, nurture, quote, order, close, all of that process. It's always good to put a face to a name. So it now picks up the LinkedIn profile wherever required and puts that against any contact person. So which means that this is what the screen, you can look like all of the activities, that the conversations, you actually have the LinkedIn picture in there. It tells you on the left-hand side that this is the person that you're actually dealing with. And so that is the new thing. So it's not just against or a contact anymore. It's actually what we call as face shots within business process flow, right? Going forward is lead scoring. Now, we talked about how leads come in through various channels. One of them could be marketing, or it could be that a salesperson meets a prospect at a conference or an event. What are some of the things that will help you categorize a particular lead with a higher score? So let's say, and with the AI now, we are now able to do predictive lead scoring. So based on the data that the salesperson has entered, or based on the marketing automation history that they've had with our organization, we can say that yes, he's got a budget, he's got, these are standard fields in Dynamics. For those of you who have used it, you would know these are out-of-the-box fields. But then he attended some of our seminars. He's in this particular industry where we are very strong in. He is a decision maker, and we have all the information that we need. And these are the people that we are connected to within my organization to connect with his stakeholders. Let's put all of this together and give a score to a lead. Now, so a decision might be that, hey, we've got this prospect and he's got a very low score. Would you pursue that? Maybe not. But then if there's all of the pieces have all fell in place, and it's just, we have a very strong strong lead score for this prospect, we can go in after them and connect and possibly have a faster deal to close. Now let's move into customer service. So customer service, it's a never-ending journey where we can make our omni-channel more effective. Okay, so if you look at the screen, it says we still have the traditional phone, email, chat, co-browse, video, but we've added some new channels as well. Okay, and I just want to take you through them. And remember, the AI or the insights has also been introduced into the customer service side of things, and let's go through that right now. So what's coming in? So we've got what we call as a true omni-channel customer service hub. So it's no longer a customer service as a standalone, it's going to be a hub, and we're going to have the omni-channel capabilities all fall into a single screen, and that's what we want to do in the hub, in this customer service hub. So the first thing is the live chat integration. So we've now got the chat integration where we can embed this chat engine so within the Microsoft portal or as a custom web page on your website, and it would be directly linked through a script file back into your Dynamics 365. We've also introduced the SMS channel where we can integrate both inbound and outbound messaging with the SMS integration providers. We also have now the ability for ISVs or software vendors who build CTI connectors or call center connectors to have them embed that into the cloud, and we can use Dynamics 365 to actually connect into those frameworks. And then last but not the least, the bots are also available for customer service. And we're going to see how that's going to work. So that's primarily from the channels perspective. Microsoft has improved the agent and the supervisor experience. Remember the dashboards that we saw for the salespeople? We've done the same thing for the customer service folks. and their managers as well. And we've pulled in we've also created some intelligent routing engines where you could actually route. We had this capability before where you could, if the customer service ticket that's been created is of type A, who had the skills for type A, the routing rule would actually push that ticket into that particular agent because he or she was skilled in that particular field. And then we have the insights as well. So let's go through that. So let's talk about the chat. So the chat it's a widget where we can go in and we can actually set up the themes on the chat window as per the web page design or the theming design that you have on your website or on a Microsoft portal. So if you already designed that, we can ensure that it complies with those themes, right? And then you can have those chat windows again you can have somebody log in and actually have that chat conversation, or you can have that as anonymous as well, right? And then within the live chat window itself, you can do surveys, pre-chat, post-chat, and also that offline. So they can actually do some ratings. If you look at the screen here, he's actually given the 4-star rating for that agent, and you can put in some comments. This can be both offline and online. So that's the chat widget or the live chat. SMS. So we have integration with third-party SMS providers. It's a two-way texting between. So the SMS can be created on the mobile device. It goes in as a if you look at on the screen on your left, you can see the messages coming in, and the customer service agent can actually respond back through a text back to the mobile device. So and you get the notifications as well. And then once the chat is actually completed, we have the ability to send out a survey after that as well. So this is the routing rules and the distribution. So we've made it, this is where we've actually built in some intelligent routing. So it can be based on the skills of a particular person on the work that needs to be done, or it could be somebody who's available. And it also you can have the sync and async work items, because if something that is time bound or something that's actually event based or signal based and based on the availability on who can do that, we will be able to route the work into the appropriate person. And remember, all of these rules engines can be configured. So if you look at that, the screen on your left, it talks about how the route goes into a particular agent from a request that's been generated from a customer. Going forward, so we've enhanced the interface for the agent, so there's more productivity. You can see more information. You can have multiple sessions. The screen gives the hub actually gives you the ability to interact through various channels. So if you know about the revolving chair problem, which is the customer service has to go into different screens and different windows to actually interact through channels that are from different customers. So now everything's unified, so you can have all of that into on a single screen itself. And the same old story of the 360-degree view of the customer. It's just that it's just become 1,000 times more enhanced. So there's a lot more intelligence that you can see from a customer on that screen in a single pane of glass, right? So we still, all of those things now, the AI, I also want to say that there's a lot of the natural language processing capabilities from the knowledge base integration has also been enhanced. So when we do a search, the system can now automatically search for KB articles. It was there before, but it has been enhanced. So based on the text or based on the question that's been related, that's been asked, the system can now search for knowledge base articles and provide you that that information. So that's been enhanced. Right. Now some of the KPIs. Now in any contact center or call center, the agent's always looking at these KPIs. So that it could be things like customer satisfaction, average handling time, any quality control KPIs that are there in this call center. So all of that can appear as a dashboard. it's not just graphs anymore. There's a lot more numbers that you can see. So which is and a supervisor can keep on monitoring this and see things really changing on the fly. It also gives you the ability to handle escalations. Now it has an escalation path. It tells you what are the different levels of escalations, and it actually pops up on the screen that says there is an escalation, and the customer who's actually escalating gets routed through a path that actually pops up and comes up to the supervisor level that says there's an escalation and we need to handle that immediately, or based on the SLA that's been configured. That's the thing, and this is where you would see more information about the Customer Service Hub. This is the link. And overall, I encourage you, if you have some time, this is time well spent. If you could go through the entire Business Application Summit that happened a couple of months ago in Microsoft, and it's worth seeing some of the, and you could actually see live demos of all that we spoke about in this conference. I encourage all of you to go through the content. With that, I'm coming to an end to this. Angelina, over to you.
Ronnie, thanks so much. That was wonderful.